Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round number 2 of the Radical Race Series, season number 3, here at Laguna, Seca. My name is Daniel Handover, and joining me once again in the commentary box is Ewan O'Leary. Ewan, round 1, new cars, certainly an interesting race, a lot of action, a lot of action throughout the race as well. Does seem to pave the way for a good season ahead.
It certainly does. There was a lot to talk about last week as we got our new season underway, but it's a whopping grid here tonight. You can tell the new car is certainly having an effect. It's popular, at least for now, but if it's not popular at this point, then there really is a problem. So it's good signs early on. 26 cars currently entered, and it's not exactly an easy circuit. It's going to be very, very busy out there tonight.
It certainly is. Obviously, Laguna Seca. Now, Laguna Seca, as we know, some of the trickiest corners, one of which being the corkscrew, T8 and then T8A as it's technically classed as, but obviously we just class the corkscrew as the corkscrew. Andretti hairpin, big braking zone coming down into turn 2 as it's classed. You have got, the Andretti hairpin is turn 2, so it's a big braking zone there. Possible opportunities for overtaking, as is the corkscrew. But the downforce as well will be helping this car through a lot of the medium and high-speed corners, of which there is quite a few here at Laguna Seca. So, yeah, racing's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the drivers are able to apply themselves and apply the new car. They would have made some setup adjustments. They would have got more comfortable with the car generally as well. So it will be interesting to see how they all behave. Leading into the championship results, obviously first round, we'll just be following on from the finishing results from round 1. Paul Crabb is leading the way with John Hutchison in P2. Simon Edwards P3 with Dom Langweb in 4th, Oliver Ettridge P5, Dave Robertson 6th, Colin Wynn in 7th, Mike Busson in 8th, Jamie Bird 9th, and then Martina Ward in P10. That's your top 10 there, and we'll then scroll down the order just a little bit more for you. But as we've seen, obviously 25, 26 cars on the grid. That is certainly going to extend this championship standings a little bit.
Certainly is, and we're certainly going to start to see them take shape a little bit more as we continue on with this season. We've got a real American leg opening up here at Road Atlanta. First of all, got Laguna Seca here tonight, and it doesn't end here. We've got another 2 weeks of American tracks coming up, starting off or continuing off, I should say, with VIR in 1 week's time, and then we've got Sebring as well to conclude the first third of this season, all in the United States of America. So that's something to note as well, I guess. But these standings really are going to start to take shape over the next few weeks. There's not a lot that we can draw on them so far, other than the fact that Paul Crabb had a very good outing last week, winning the race.
He certainly did, yes, very, very true. Paul Crabb taking the first win of the season, possibly the first of many. We will have to see how it goes. But drivers just come around for their first flying laps now. Paul Crabb is one of them who is on his first flying lap, down through 2 and then into 3. Medium speed corner, of which 3 and 4 are. And then pretty fast section leading then up to the corkscrew. You just see using all of the curb, really, really sharp on that steering. You can tell there's some confidence in the car at the moment. I think people are getting more use from last week. Remember, we spoke to a couple of drivers, and there was a little bit of concern when it came to the rear car. The rear of the car just wasn't quite settled that much, as Paul LeMay goes very, very wide, a little bit too wide, takes a bit of the gravel. That will be his lap, unfortunately done. He will have a bit of dirt on the tyres. We'll have to keep it a little bit controlled through the corkscrew. But this car, I think already, from what we saw in practice as well, drivers seem to be a little bit more, they seem to be a little bit happier, I think, with the car as it stands from round 1.
Yeah, I think so. You'd hope so. There's been another 7 days, of course. There'll be official racing going on constantly. So everybody will be able to kind of get used to that car a little bit and get up towards the front. So we will be hopefully seeing maybe a few more drivers who are accustomed to this car now. But as you mentioned, this car does seem to have a little bit more fight in it, especially on power. You get onto the power out of some of these corners, especially the medium speed ones around here. Does have a tendency to maybe keep the rear end out a little bit more than what we saw with the SR8 that we were using previously. We noticed also already the lack of downforce maybe on the rear as well, the oversteer throughout the corner as well. So it's all things to keep an eye on throughout this qualifying session. But at the moment, Dan Webster is tackling that the best with that current pole position time.
Very true indeed. Here is Paul Crabb, though. Obviously, the race winner from round number 1. He's coming through into turn 11, the final corner. Again, uses all of the curb. Probably could use a little bit more if he's feeling brave. Uses all of the curb on the exit, though, and a little bit more. So where does Paul Crabb go? For his first lap, as he comes across the line, it is going to put him in no position at all, because I believe, from what it looks like, that lap was invalid. Yes, it was. Simon Edwards has just topped the standings. Where is he? There is Simon Edwards there. That's a familiar-looking livery, that is. We saw that a fair few seasons last time out, and we've seen it once again. Looks quite good on that car, actually. I think I prefer it compared to the SR8, actually, on that car. But anyway, we'll probably see more liveries as they come through in the coming days. There's Paul LeMay, P8, and then brother Michael LeMay in P9. Again, very, very close to one another, as we would expect. You know, the bigger the grid we've got here, as John Hutchinson goes up into P4 for his first lap, yeah, the bigger the grid, naturally, this would promote. I can't believe how big this grid is. It's going to be absolute madness coming down into turn 2. Yeah, that is going to promote some more close racing, we would imagine, but it's also going to promote a very, very close qualifying, as you can see. Although Simon Edwards, though, he's taken 3/10 out of Luke Maxwell, of which Luke Maxwell's done a very, very good job sticking it on currently in P2.
There's only 4 cars within a second at the moment, so it's maybe not quite as close as we'd expect, but you say 27 cars out there at the moment. It looks like we may have a couple of non-qualifiers in this one, but either way, it's going to be really hectic when we get to the race. Simon Edwards has done his 3 laps now. That's it from him with a 16.5, but it's not enough because Luke Maxwell goes to the front by a couple of tenths of a second.
Very, very impressive lap time there for Luke Maxwell. Another 2/10. Just over 2/10, in fact, on Simon Edwards. Impressive stuff. What is John Hutchinson going to do? He is on his second of 3 laps, so he has got a little bit more time in to get to just about. I think that he may have got away with the off track there. He may have got away with it. Is this lap time going to be counted? It does, but it is a 1:17.5. So that last lap, 1.2 seconds off. Made perhaps a small little mistake somewhere around that lap. Dom Lang-Webb, very, very good performance last time out. What is it going to be for his last lap? Where is it going to put him in? It puts him in P5. Very, very good position there. Again, only a couple of tenths behind John Hutchinson as it stands. Martina Ward just got up into P13. And still a load of drivers yet to set the lap times. Again, with this higher grade. Dave Rolston, second lap as he goes through and pushes up. Slots up into P13. Martina Ward gets dropped down into P14. Paul Crabb goes now in P4, so that pushes Matt Hutchinson and then Lang-Webb down, which we've still got around 6 or 7 drivers that are still setting the lap time. Damien G has just gone through for his final lap, and it's 1:18.011. It's starting to get a little bit closer through the field now, all of a sudden, isn't it? It's just all of a sudden these lap times appear. And they become very, very close, of which now between anywhere from 5th down to about 16th, all separated by a second. John Hutchinson, the man normally walks away, especially in qualifying. He's very, very strong in qualifying. Are we going to see? So he does improve with a 1:16.620, so it's a couple of tenths off of just over 3 tenths away from Luke Maxwell. I tell you what, Luke Maxwell, very, very impressive performance there. We've still got a few people left to go. Yeah, Luke Maxwell really, really taking it to the veterans of the Radical Race Series this race.
Yeah, he didn't appear for the first round at Road Atlanta, but making his mark now with this likely pole position. Paul Crabb, I think, might have another lap time here, but no, he doesn't actually. But he's still out there either way, and nobody else is going to touch him from this point, you wouldn't imagine, Maxwell. So it's going to be pole position for him. Dave Dowson a little bit further down on his 4th lap here. I thought they were limited to 3, but they might just be running around at the moment, getting a bit of practice in anyway. But as you can see there, it is very, very close indeed. We're certainly seeing a sort of top 5 kind of develop. Those top 5 positions separated by about just about 6 tenths of a second. Bit of a further gap to Dominic Lang-Webb, and then there really is a very, very close midfield battle that we're going to see develop throughout the race. But yeah, it's a really nice grid, and hopefully it's going to be a good race to boot as well.
Well, as you say, that midfield is going to be very, very close. You can see that just by what the you can see that just by obviously that time. Look at the gap. So as you say, that top 5 definitely extending that top 5. You can see that from Maxwell down to Paul Crabb. So let's see how they get away. Bear in mind though, if you get the start wrong, that's it. It's that can be certainly a that can put you on the back foot almost instantly. And yeah, Dom Lang Webb, and then down to what's that? Looking from a second, I think that's around P15. Actually, no, it's even more than that. So if you look, P20 is less than a second. So 14 spots separated by just under a second. Absolutely fantastic. Oliver Etridge, though, interestingly enough, I thought we would have seen him a little bit higher up the field. He had a very, very strong performance last race at round 1. I would have expected him to see possibly, at least a top 10. From Etridge, but perhaps might not have got as much practice in. Maybe a couple of off tracks. So that could be why we've not seen him further up the field. So let's keep an eye out for him because he may start pushing up the field. Depends. Obviously, he's got to get through that just mountain of cars in front of him. This is one of the biggest grids I think we've had for. I would probably say that this has been an absolutely fantastic grid. And again, as you say, it shows the popularity of this new car.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, it also helps that they've been given another week to actually buy it as well. That is helpful. But yeah, it's a very popular car by the looks of things as we now go through the grid before this race.
Indeed. So Luke Maxwell taking that pole position with Simon Edwards a couple of tenths behind in second. Dan Webster P3, John Hutchison P4. Paul Crabb takes 5th place, with then Dom Langweb in 6th. Graham Brown 7th, James Child 8th, Paul LeMay 9th, Mike Burson is your top 10 with Patrick Charlton, Damien G, and then Scott Lear P13, Dave Rolliston 14th, Martina Ward, Darryl Taylor, Michael LeMay, Colin Wynn, Richard Brown P20, Oliver Ettridge, Jamie Bird, Phil Glover, Phil Jocelyn, and then Guy Robertson. We have Dave Dowson, Christopher Kane and Dave Lowson, but I don't think those two will be starting on the grid. I think the final driver that will be starting is Dave Dowson. We will see his, again, might not have been able to get as much practice in as he would have liked, so potentially we'll see him move up the field as well. Let us hope so. But the main thing, we want some good, clean racing, and Laguna Seca is certainly an interesting, always provides some interesting racing, so we'll have to see, and I can't imagine this one is going to be any different. Couple more drivers yet to go on the grid, and then we will be underway. As you can see there, there's a couple more drivers left to go. And then the timer the lights will come on, and then we will be underway. It's a short run down into the Andretti hairpin, the first braking zone here. So, I'd say it's not too much of a short run. You can still get up a fair amount of speed. So people might be trying to make some lunges early on, but we're going to find out in just a few moments' time because the lights are on. Who's going to get the jump? And away we go. It's a little bit of a slower start there from Simon Edwards. I noticed he's already dropped a position. There was a bit of contact. 3 wide. Luke Maxwell's had a poor start as well. So that's Dan Webster that's also inherited the lead. He's just gone storming through. Just gone, thank you very much, everyone. Got what is the perfect start. Goes a little bit wide through turn 2, but he manages to keep it all in check, though. Everyone seems to be all okay. Dan Webster just sort of running away with it. Luke Maxwell second. Simon Edwards still in P3, having dropped on the position. John Hutchison has spun. Big incident for John Hutchison. Who was that? I think it was Michael LeMay as well. No, it might have been Paul Crabb. You were right there, Ewan. Paul Crabb.
You were right. It was Paul LeMay who's gone around, unless Crabb has as well. But I can't see him at the moment, Paul Crabb. He's down in 23rd at the moment as well. So Michael LeMay has been around. So has John McCutchinson, as you say, losing it out of turn 3, and that did cause quite a big incident. This is the problem with the slightly bigger grids. We love having them, of course, but it does increase the likelihood of a bit of a pile-up on lap 1.
Unfortunately so. We'll see some replays certainly in a few moments as all the drivers come down into the corkscrew for the first time. Everyone seems to be going through relatively cleanly. There's a couple of drivers that lost a little bit of time. It's a bit wide there for Damien G, I feel. Yes, it was, but he manages to keep it all in check, though. Colin Wynn might capitalise on a position here as he tries to go round the long way round through Scott Lear, but that's never going to work. But he does get a better run. Can he maintain that exit speed? I think he can. Whoa! That was someone that was in the wall. Who was that? That was Phil Jocelyn, I think. Yeah, Phil Jocelyn had a moment. Again, just these cold tyres, the fact that this car seems to just be a little bit more sketchy through that start. There's another lock-up there. I think that was Darryl Taylor that was having a bit of a lock-up as Colin Wynn goes wide a little bit through turn 1. It's all kicking off here. Jamie Bird's had a big off on turn 2. So that will cost him certainly a few, and has cost him a few positions. It's all kicking off just pretty much everywhere. There's so much action that we can really can't decide where to look. A little bit further up the field, though, Mike Busson currently running in P6. He's made up 4 positions, so starting in P10. Good movement, good move forward from him. Obviously got a couple of freebies with Hutchison and Crab, but he seems to be holding his own, getting pressured a little bit by Graham Brown. Nothing that I don't think will be causing too many problems. It's a bit of side-by-side, albeit briefly. Oh, that's something that's gone quite wrong. Damien, I wonder if there was a tag there between the two.
Yeah, quite possibly, because you don't have to see side-by-side up towards the corkscrew, and when you do, it can go wrong very, very easily indeed. And it might well have done just there, as James Childer's gone off, I think, at some point, or he's just been steamrolled by a few drivers. There are cars everywhere at the moment. Richard Brown recovering there from a little bit of an off moment at the rainy curve, turn 9. This is what happened to McCutchinson on lap 1. Just got onto the sand and the gravel on the outside, and everybody did a very good job to avoid it. Well, it was Paul Crab, you were right. It was Paul Crab who got caught up in that one. Michael LeMay had an incident of his own, though. There's Paul Crab. He's very lucky not to get collected here, unless he does right at the end. But yeah, everybody going left and right of him, thankfully avoiding him as well. But yeah, unfortunate and early incident here for John McCutchinson, who did actually say to us that he might actually be able to make make 10 races to maybe stand a chance of scoring enough points to be up there in the title race this season, but not going to be not going to be scoring many points today with that incident now.
Unfortunately not. There's what happened to Phil Jocelyn again, just getting a little bit too aggressive on that throttle towards on corner exit, which again is something that we've been hearing from drivers quite a lot. This is a nice little battle here going on. It's a big old train. I believe this is... Oh, that's not going to go well. No, is that John Hutchison again getting involved in a couple of incidents, trying to work his way back through. Unfortunately, though, didn't quite make it stick, though, unfortunately. That was a big shame there for John Hutchison. I think he may have just got caught out with everyone braking. May have got sucked in a little bit just with the additional speed, the overspeed, but manages, unfortunately, hopefully that's some... all drivers will still be able to keep going. This is Mike Busson versus Patrick Charlton. I think that move has actually just been done. It has indeed. So Mike Busson... actually, no, apologies. Patrick Charlton was initially getting past, but couldn't quite hold it around the outside of turn 2. Mike Busson manages to hold that position once again, but Patrick Charlton looking pretty aggressive, though. Oliver Ettridge, all of a sudden, is P8. I'm pretty sure when he started, he was P20. He is now in P8. They're 4 laps. Only 4 laps have gone. There's... I think who that was. That might have been Luke Maxwell, I think we just saw there. Yeah, what's happened to Oliver Edgeworth? Where has he come from? He just seems to have the biggest gainer by a long way, having made up 12 positions. And he is just absolutely storming through. This is the performance. Maybe he just had it, like I said, maybe a bit of an off-qualifying, just a couple of off-tracks that he couldn't get a lap time on the board. But fair play indeed.
I think it shows what you can do if you just pick your way through the chaos, really, more than anything else. Not trying to discredit him or anything and say that everybody else has just fallen by the wayside, as there's another one. There's another free position for him, because Mike Poussin has got around at the final corner, just stepping on that power a little bit too early. But you see there, he's had such a clean opening couple of laps, and he's gained so many places because of it, and now he will try to pick cars off one by one. I seem to remember he did a little bit of this at Road Atlanta as well last week, ending up in that 5th position. He's very nearly back inside that top 5 once again.
He is indeed. Very true. A little bit of battling going on a bit further down the order. That's a big lunge for Paul LeMay, but I think he's managed to get it stick. He does indeed. Good move there. I know we just caught the tail end of it into the braking zone, but a very good move from Paul LeMay. Decisive. That was from one of the Two Brothers Racing guys, of which Michael LeMay, his brother, is the other driver for the Two Brothers Racing, which does make sense. Unfortunately, Michael LeMay down a little bit further down the order. Are we seeing a little bit of a battle here? Do you know what? We almost saw something. I'm just trying to think what happened. That would be why. That would be why. So a slowdown there for Dan Webster. So Luke Maxwell now inherits the lead once again for the first time since the start. He now inherits that lead. So can Dan Webster pull that back? Because again, what a storming start from Dan Webster at the start.
Yeah, it was a very strong start indeed, and unfortunately just overcooked it into the corkscrew. It was really the braking for the left-hander that undid him, as Oliver Ettridge is undoing some of his hard work as well. down the hill through turn 9 and into 10 as well, losing it. Thankfully keeps things pointing in the right direction at least, but he does drop to 10th position now. Just a little bit further back, this is Jamie Bird trying to get through on Phil Glover, although not able to in this battle for 15th position. Yeah, just wondering what's going to happen with the tyres really here today, because we mentioned a few drivers talking about this at the end of the race at Road Atlanta. It's a bit of a struggle. So in these longer races, got a longish race here today. How are they? How are those tyres actually going to cope with this one? You can see Simon Edwards there, just a second or so off the battling pair up front. Is he just taking things a little bit easy in third place, or is he at his maximum at the moment anyway?
Well, it's a good shout actually as well. Oh, Jimmy Bird goes wide. That might allow Paul LeMay to come through. Paul LeMay storming through. He's not hanging about at all, is he? Capitalise on every position he can, but that's going to be too wide, I think. That's got to be too wide. No, well, it's a little bit too wide there by Jamie Bird, but he manages to keep it and outbrake Paul LeMay. So, fair play indeed. Some good battling between the two here. But yes, at the moment, Paul LeMay is looking very, very aggressive. Wants to get past Jamie Bird and obviously then catch up to Phil Glover. They were battling, which obviously naturally was helping Paul LeMay catch up. Now, since that's a big, big lunge by Paul LeMay, absolutely no holding back. There we go. Job done. Very, very good move. Are we going to see a possible lunge now coming back from Jamie Bird? We see Paul LeMay goes to the inside. That means Jamie Bird's going to have to go the long way around. He does try it, though. Is he going to make it stick? He certainly gives it a go. If he can hang around the outside here, no, can't quite do it. That's a tricky corner to do that. If it opened up a little bit earlier, then that would absolutely be possible. But unless you're, almost in front by the midway point of the Andretti hairpin, that's a pretty impossible move to make. But he gave it a good go, though.
It's a long way around there, really. It's like any hairpin, really. It's in the name. It's very difficult to pull off. But I do find that overtaking generally here does get quite difficult. It's not seemed very difficult so far for these drivers, but generally it is quite hard around here. You can get a nice run off turn 6 there up towards the corkscrew, but then again, do you want to be making a move up through this really madness of a corner? Really, not especially. So everybody sticks where they are at the moment. But it's a great fight over 15th position. I think Phil Glover has found himself in a similar situation to Oliver Ettridge did earlier on, picking up a lot of positions by just having a clean start, and now he is a bit the cork in the bottle just a little bit. Martina Ward makes a late breaking move, not quite late enough though to make the pass into the hairpin.
Couldn't quite do it, as you say. That might have opened potentially for a move. We've also got moves a little bit further up. What's going on here? A little bit further afield. It's all kicking off, going through 3. I believe that was Mike Buss and Colin Wynn, Paul Rather, all having a bit of a look on one another. I think that was a move back on Mike Buss, and he is battling quite heavily with Colin Wynn, which Colin Wynn is trying to get past, but can't quite do it as of yet. Yeah, this train here, this is still the biggest train that we've got, although it seems to have spread out a little bit. Whoa, that's a big send by Jamie Bird. Does he make the corner? He does indeed. What a move. What a send there from Jamie Bird on Phil Glover. So he is certainly not hanging about either. Wants to catch back up to Paul LeMay. We'll have to keep an eye out on the times and see if he is able to make that move. Yeah, regarding Simon Edwards, interesting enough, I wonder if he is trying to look after his tyres a little bit. Maybe he's just getting a bit used to the car, or again, he needs to try and just get a little bit more accustomed to this car particularly. Really, really don't know. But, he's holding his own 1.2, 1.3 seconds around about there. So it doesn't seem like it's a... It doesn't seem like he's... Oh, that's a big, big crash. Big, big incident there. Phil Glover, indeed.
He was ahead of this train, and it's all broken loose now, hasn't it? With the Martina Ward going wide through the final corner. This is Dave Dowson getting that rear very loose indeed into turn 4. Having a spin around into the sand.
Oh!
Watch that inside curb. There's a load of those sausage curbs on the inside of these corners at Laguna Seca, and they can really upset any car, really. Never mind these very slow slung prototypes almost they are. So low to the ground, you cannot ride curbs in this car at all. You couldn't in the SR8 either. It's not a car specific thing with the SR10. It just doesn't like them particularly. So that was a far too big of a smash onto the curb for Phil Glover. He's gone around and he's going to be kicking himself a little bit. So, everybody behind will gain a position.
God, that would have... that probably would have hurt in the force feedback, let alone actually being in a car like that in real life. Man, if you had a motion rig on that, you'd be flown out of the seat. That would be horrendous. That looked
It would.
really, really aggressive there, and actually that would have caused potential underfloor damage. You know, the splitter, you name it, that would have been absolutely done. Oh, that's a spin. Who was that? Is that Jamie Bird? Yes, Jamie Bird again, just using a little bit. Interestingly enough, though, even with that spin, like turn 10, it's a fast corner. The downforce should be working at that point. So what it is showing us that even at these higher speeds, similar to what we saw coming down at Road Atlanta at turn one, at round one, even though we've seen, and even these cars, you know, the fact that they do have downforce, that doesn't necessarily mean that even through these higher speed corners, of which turn 10 is a pretty fast corner, it's one of the fastest on the circuit, you know, the car can still lose traction unless he caught a wheel on the grass, which is certainly a possibility. It just goes to show that even this, you know, the downforce that these cars produce, it can still be overcome.
Yeah, it's they're not exactly. You can't do anything to them. They will eventually come unstuck. But yeah, now only 22 cars still left running, I think, at the moment. There's been quite a few off the road. There's Jamie Bird. It wasn't sand at all. It was that curb again. I don't know why there is a curb on the inside line there, to be quite honest, because there's sand on the inside anyway.
I know.
It's not like people are going to cut the corner, but anyway, it's one of those things. Not an iRacing thing, by the way, for those wondering. It is rare in real life as well, but it is a bit stupid still. As we go down the inside of turn one with Oliver Ettridge once again, is it? Side of James Child. Both of these two have been for a spin so far in this race, but it's Ettridge who makes his way through into 7th place.
Indeed, good move, clean, calculated, no mess, no fuss, got the job done. Although James Child, again, let that move happen, I think, to a certain degree, but at the same time, probably, again, you've got to take into account, might try to be conserving his tyres, but yeah, again, you can fight moves. There is a time and a place to fight moves, but there's also a time and a place to, to let a move happen in one way and then try and actually make that move back a little bit later on. I think Richard Brown has just made a move on, I believe, actually, sorry, Damien G's just passed Richard Brown. In fact, let's have a quick look at that overtake going into turn 3. Interesting. I wonder if Richard Brown had a little bit of a slower exit out of turn 2, possibly. Maybe a slower entry into turn 3 or something along those lines. Because that's a position you don't normally gain positions there. And obviously, it's not impossible, but it's just a little bit trickier. Martina, whoa, that's close! How close? Oh, that was about as close as you ever want to be to the back of a car going down into the corkscrew. A tap there is game over, unfortunately, because of the way the balance is. The car is completely out of shape, completely out of whack, because it's going down. You've got a massive elevation change. And again, just a tap on the rear like that is it. Your car is going for a spin. But manages to, Martina Ward did it, I think I can't imagine the distance in between those two, but it was probably inches. And that's, as long as there was no contact, that is the main thing. I think Jamie Bird's just made a move on Guy Robertson. I think actually Guy Robertson has had a issue. Is this, it's a little bit wide going through turn 1. Oh, just about. I thought that was going to be just about kept it to the outside there. But unfortunately just carries a little bit too much speed because turn 2 tightens up on you. It's a deceiving one that. You think it opens up earlier than it does. It doesn't. It does tighten up a little bit. So that's what happened there. So a freebie for Jamie Bird and also Phil Glover. And then James Child, I think, has had another moment on Seca going into corkscrew a little bit wide. Yep. So he will suffer a slowdown, but hopefully not too much damage.
It's a miserable run over the corkscrew there, the bumping and all of that going on. Yeah, not good at all, as Paul Crabb looks to make his way. This is a remarkable resurgence from Paul Crabb to be 8th place. I thought he was well outside the top 20 and done completely, but in the end, that contact he had with John McCutcheon clearly is not actually affecting him in terms of damage very much at all. He is storming back through the field again, back to 8th place now. Let's see where he can get to by the end of this one, but Simon Edwards at the moment still in that 3rd place. He will obviously be gaining those points and probably overtaking Paul Crabb in this in the standings as things currently stand. I know it's round 2 and I'm talking about the championship. I'm getting a bit excited, but It's a remarkable recovery from Paul Crabb. I really wasn't expecting this from him, because if you look at where John McCutcheon has ended up, now I know there was more damage to his car, but he's down in 21st and he's over a 1 lap down.
Unfortunately, but bear in mind, John Hutchinson has had a couple of incidents, whereas, again, Touchwood, Paul Crabs only was in that one that was involved at the start of the race. So that's also something to consider. But yeah, Paul Crab really, really making move forward. So Oliver Etris next in his line of sight. We're going to have a quick look at the last lap time. So last lap time as Oliver Etris comes across the line is going to be a 1:17.65. Paul Crab's done a 1:17.1. So half a second faster. That will mean he will catch Ettridge up by the end of the race, of which there are only 5 laps left to go. But the important thing is, obviously catching up is one thing, getting past is quite another. And then after that, you've got Patrick Charlton. It's around about, I think that's, what's that, no, it's only a second and a half up the road. So potentially, if Paul Crab really, really puts his mind to it and gets that, and really, really gets the hammer down, he could very well see a P6, although it might be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, we're running. Oh dear, we're running out of time a little bit as well here in this race. 5 laps to go at the line, so it's going to be difficult for Crab to do much, because you got to remember as well, he might have to lose a bit of time passing Ettridge if he's going to make that pass first. As wide there for Darrell Taylor, basically handing Paul LeMay 12th place on a plate there, and so yeah, he goes up into that position now with, as I say, 5 laps to go at the line. This race flying by, not long to go at all for these drivers.
As indeed you say, not too long left to go. Luke Maxwell still out leading the race after that incident from Dan Webster going through corkscrew cost him with that slowdown. And at the moment, Luke Maxwell has, I think Dan Webster may have had another small little incident, because he has dropped another half a second. So depends. All interestingly enough, though, have a look. All of a sudden, have a look at Simon Edwards. Simon Edwards only 6 tenths behind. I wonder if he has saved a little bit of his tyres. He's now having one final push here, because the gap has really come down.
Yeah, I think you're right. I know I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier on, but the tyres on this car now, we spoke about that oversteer. It really does mean that the rears can suffer quite a lot. Now, around a circuit like this, it's not too much of a problem, really. The rear tyres aren't your worst enemy, although they're not going to be perfect, especially in this car. However, yeah, I did mention that was just letting those two fight up in front a little bit. Was he at his maximum, or was he just pacing himself? Well, maybe he was pacing himself a little bit, as Paul Crab has had more problems here because he's dropped down to 12th place.
What has happened to Paul Crab? It's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong. He might even lose another position here, possibly. Paul LeMay's had a... What's happened to Paul LeMay? I wonder if he got a slowdown or if he was just giving some positions back. Not entirely sure, but Darrell Taylor's right on his tail, right on the gearbox of Paul Crab. He needs to get a good line coming down into... Can he get a good run? No, he's about half a second back, so he won't be... nothing will be happening there. Yeah, let's see what happened, though, with Paul Crab. Here is the replay coming up for you now. Is it a little bit too... Or is it the curb? As the curb. Oh, dear. I mean, in all honesty... I thought he would have saved... I thought he saved it. I thought he saved it. Nearly did. So nearly. It does seem to be a little bit like... If the car does go like that, it seems to be almost easier to catch. Maybe because of the lower amount of downforce or something, or the way the car is set up. It seems to be easier to catch that initial slide. Just in that case, though, that snap the other way just was a little bit too much. It happened so fast, no one could have saved that, really. It's just it's a bit of luck. See, Paul Crab taking a little bit more cautious that lap. You can see a little bit further away from the curb that time on exit. But to be fair, in all honesty, I do not blame him at all.
No, I mean, it's an easy mistake to make. We've seen so many drivers hitting the curb so far, and we've had to see another one. Paul LeMay out himself, and that's what Paul Crab was intending to do. Or at least the second part of that is what he was intending to do by saving that one. I'm not entirely sure if these cars really do look easier to save or not, really. I haven't quite decided yet, but there may be a bit of truth to it. Of course, these guys probably are learning just as much as we are at this stage. It is only the second race of this season with this new car, as Paul Crab is back inside the top 10 again. He really is having a bit of a roller coaster race here today. But with only 3 laps to go, the amount of positions he can now grab is certainly limited. Although Oliver Ettridge going out of the race is going to help him.
Indeed, what has happened to Oliver Ettridge? Big concern there for Oliver Ettridge. Let's see. I think we're going to have a couple of replays come up. Yes, indeed. And here we go. So, Oliver Etridge doing so. Oh, it's a curb again. Oh, that's why.
Oh, no.
Ah, that's
that?
game over. Do you know what? I can't quite.
Guy Robertson.
Is it Guy Robertson?
Pretty sure Guy Robertson, yeah. Came into the pit
You
lane
right?
at a similar time. There it is. He hits the curb himself, so Etridge was out of control anyway, wasn't he? He was having an incident of his own.
Yeah.
It's so unlucky that Robertson was just sat on that line there, because technically he's not actually on the racing line there. It's just really unlucky for Etridge that he was having that exact kind of moment at that exact point in the race, because pretty much 18 of the other 19 laps he would have been fine.
Absolutely right. Such a shame there for both drivers, because yeah, it's really, really unfortunate. Like I said, when you say 9 times out of 10 you would be absolutely fine, you'd have a bit of an off, keep it going, job done. But yeah, big shame there. Guy Robertson did exactly the same, exactly 100% correct. He just held the brakes and held it there. Didn't try and immediately accelerate, although ironically that may have actually may have actually missed the collision. But, by the by, Guy Robertson did exactly what he should have done, which is just hold the brake, wait, compose yourself. When you're ready, then go again. It just happens, as you say. Unfortunately, that Etridge was just having a little bit of a moment on his own. White flag has been waved, and Luke Maxwell, don't know what I said there. Luke Maxwell leading this race still. One more lap to go. A little bit of traffic in front of him, though. That should be dealt with relatively quickly and easily. I think that may be Phil Glover, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. Phil Glover trying to avoid doing an extra lap, I think, in this race, because if he gets overtaken by the leader, then he will make the flag 1 lap shorter, make this race 1 lap shorter for himself. But it's been a good drive from Luke Maxwell ever since he took that lead from Dan Webster. I know he took the lead from a mistake, but then he hasn't made one himself, and he's on course at the moment to take victory. Although this gap is not big, it is under a second. The pressure will be on in these final moments here, but it looks like he will be able to hold on there. Simon Edwards is a few seconds back there in third, and he's actually going to end up in a tie with Paul Crabb in terms of the points tallies for those two. A solid opening to the season for Simon Edwards, the only man to get 2 podiums out of 2 so far.
Indeed, as you say, 2 out of 2 for the moment in terms of podiums for Simon Edwards, but the person we need to keep an eye out for this time out is Luke Maxwell, who's going to take the race victory here for round number 2. Dan Webster comes home in second, and then Simon Edwards in that P3. 12 seconds down is Dom Lang-Webb, who manages to inherit P4, another very, very strong performance. I believe that is 2 fourth positions for Dom Lang-Webb. So, again, very, very good stuff indeed. But yeah, Luke Maxwell, like I said, wasn't able to attend round 1, but he's really, really made his mark. And like I said, Dan Webster, absolute blinding start at the front for Dan Webster. Unfortunately, just with that mistake into corkscrew, couldn't quite keep that car and just couldn't quite get that position back. But certainly gave it a good go, though. It's a little bit more battle happening a little bit further down. So obviously Paul Crabb and I think that's Paul LeMay. No, sorry, that was Dave Rolliston. Just coming across the line, but couldn't quite get it though. 0.4 of a second. That was actually the closest gap that we had towards the end of the race. You wouldn't have thought that, considering what the lap, halfway through the race, what the gaps were. With that, the only one actually being under a second. Interesting enough, Jeremy Bird is going to come across the line, and then we will be checking the grid, and we'll also be having a look and we'll have a quick check. And see if we can have a chat with a couple of drivers there, or the final drivers that have come across the line. And then let us have a see. There we are. So there's your provisional results here. Luke Maxwell taking that race win. Dan Webster second. Simon Evans in P3. Dom Lang-Webb in 4th. Graham Brown 5th. Patrick Charlton in P6. James Charles 7th. Colin Wynn 8th. Dave Rolliston in 9th. Paul Crabb rounding out your top 10. Paul LeMay in P11. Damien G in 12th. Richard Brown, P13. Martina Ward, P14. As we go down a little bit further down the order, Michael LeMay in P15. Darryl Taylor, 16th. Jeremy Bird in 17th. Phil Glover, 18th, finishing our lap down. The first driver to finish a lap down. Oliver Etridge, 19th. Guy Robertson, 20th. Dave Dowson, 21st, after finishing 4 laps down. John Hutchison, after a couple of incidents, 7 laps down in 22nd. Scott Lear, Mike Busson, Phil Jocelyn, Christopher Kane, and David Lowerson, who both did not start. Certainly an interesting race. I mean, yeah, 25 cars that started this race. Certainly a big grid, one of the biggest, like I said, we've seen for a long time, which is fantastic, and hopefully we will see more of this, perhaps even bigger lobbies and bigger events and bigger races. But overall then, and I think Laguna Seca seems to be, it promoted quite a lot of overtaking. As you mentioned, Laguna Seca, not necessarily the easiest track to overtake on, but that didn't stop a lot of the drivers here today.
Absolutely, I was a little bit fearful about this race because of the way that the circuit is, but it was a good race either way. It had plenty of drama in it. It's a shame to see the likes of John McCutcheon down the order, of course, and Paul Crabb as well, because of their respective incidents, or the one they had together indeed. That could have made that race up front even more interesting than it was, but in the end Luke Maxwell did soak up all of that pressure and took home that victory. But Maxwell, Webster and Edwards were all very, very close over that line there, and it was a good fight between the two of them, between the three of them, even if there wasn't very much overtaking up there.
Indeed, very, very true. Now, we do have a couple of interviews coming through, and first off, let's have a quick chat with the man himself, Luke Maxwell. Luke, congratulations. Race win. Just talk us through it, because the start wasn't the best of starts, but after that incident that Dan Webster had going through the corkscrew, managed to stay ahead and then just lead for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I got a bit of wheel spin there at the start. It was always tricky in this car now when you get away with the wheels hot. So just managed to ease it back enough and keep goodish position. And I think then settled in and tried to take it easy for a few laps and not let the tyres come in a bit, because we know this car's very hard to get the tyres up to temperature. So yeah, it was good. I mean, way beyond my expectations, to be honest. I'm really pleased. No, good,
and certainly, like I said, it's really coming out of gates. Obviously, I know we're in round 2, so it's early days yet, but coming out, with this finishing position, taking that win, very, very good stuff indeed. Going, compared to the SR8, compared to this SR10, do you prefer? I imagine, obviously, you haven't got 100% knowledge with this car yet, but are you getting more used to it? Do you prefer it over the old one, or is this still not quite sure yet?
I did love the SR8. That was my favourite car in iRacing, and I really enjoyed driving that car. The noise, the feel, the tyres, all kind of seemed to come together well for me in that car. This one, I'm getting used to it now. I think I've done a fair bit of time this week at Laguna Seca in the hot official races, and tried to get a lot more to grips with the car. Just going on the brakes and letting the rear come around a bit, and letting the front tuck in. It's been good. I think I'm enjoying it more now. The sound is a bit disappointing compared to the older Hayabusa engines, but still a great car.
Good stuff. Well, hopefully we'll look forward to seeing you in a few more races in the future. But Luke, again, we'll let you go, but congratulations again on P1, and we look forward to seeing you on the top step again soon.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, enjoyed it. Cheers.
Cheers, Luke. Very, very impressive stuff there from Luke Maxwell. I said it seemed to be, he almost surprised himself there. So now we've had a chat with Luke, let's have a chat with the man that was leading. A small little mistake there. Dan Webster is now with us. Dan, absolute blinding start that you had, and you're running away with it very much so. So the pace is definitely there. Just that small little mistake going through the corkscrew, couldn't quite get that position back after.
Yeah, just a little bit of inexperience with the car. It's the first time I'd filled the tanks up, and I was struggling a little bit for the first few laps just to get my braking points right. So just a couple of silly mistakes. But, the start, I don't know what happened there. I just dropped the clutch and dropped everyone else as well. It was great.
Well, I mean, you certainly did. Like I said, an absolute, a blinding start. Are we getting more to grips with the car now in terms of, compared to, I don't know how much running you've done in it, but is this something that are you just getting more to grips with the car in general?
I think I'm pretty much up to speed with it. I mean, more practice always helps, but yeah, I like the car. It feels good. I think it suits my driving style, so I can jump in it and be quick quite quickly, which is good.
Perfect stuff. But no, I think this has really set the bar. Obviously, P2 really coming out of the gate strong for the for this early on in the season. We see an absolute lovely, lovely slide through there on stream. You wouldn't be able to see it, but we just caught that on stream there. Absolutely fantastic. Dan, really, really good stuff from P2. Congratulations, and we'll hopefully catch up with you next week.
Brilliant, thank you.
Take care, Dan.
Cheers.
There we go, Dan Webster, P2. Again, after just that small little mistake, couldn't quite keep the P1, unfortunately. Simon Edwards, reigning champion, going down into round number 2 with a P3. How did that go for you? Because it seemed that we were running pretty stable throughout the entire race. In all honesty, it looked quite comfortable.
It's not comfortable. I'm really struggling with this car. So I was just doing my laps. If they had an accident and I got past them, or they got a slow down, I got past them, but I couldn't get close enough to challenge them. So it was just me and the car on the track. Luckily, there was nobody behind immediately to give me any pressure. So I was literally just looking at my my optimum sectors and just trying to stay consistent with those. So I can't quite get on with the car. I can never get on with a car that's got a ton of understeer in it, and this one's got understeer on understeer.
I was going to ask actually, is it the front end or is it the front end or the back end that's misbehaving? But it sounds like it's the front.
It's the front, but because I'm trying to get some rotation, I occasionally get a big rear end moment as well. But that's just my bad driving. Trying to get some rotation where I'm getting better. I'm getting more consistent, but I'm not picking up any good speed. I mean, I did a really, really fast lap in practice, and I thought that'll scare everybody, but it didn't scare them enough to screw up their qualifying. And I spun on my fast lap anyway. So so started P2, did I? P2, 3?
P3, I believe it was.
No, it was P2
Oh, was
because
it
I was on the
you know more than
wrong
me.
side of the car. Yeah.
Yep.
And then Dan made himself a little space for
I
himself.
certainly did, yeah.
Luckily, this car's really, really tough at the moment, so I wasn't worried about that damaging me. I swore a bit just under my breath, but it didn't affect me. I just had to move. So I can't start the car either, so I can't drive the car, I can't start the car. I'm getting better at both.
That's the main thing.
Season goes on. Yeah.
That's the main thing, is you're getting better. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah, and I've never been good at the first half of this track in any car. So my pace here, nearly matching those top two, maybe isn't as far off as I think.
I think everyone's always harder on themselves than it's just it's just the nature of it, and always being overly critical, which is something that we all do. But no, I mean, to be fair, Simon, again, P3, 2 podiums out of 2 races. It's a good run so far. Also taking some points out of both Paul Crabb and Jobber Hutchison as well. Certainly.
Yeah. I was going to say P3, but behind 2 different people. So
absolutely.
So I'll take that.
Indeed. Simon, pleasure as always, and we'll hopefully catch up with you next week.
Yes, I'll see you next week.
Take care, Simon. Another strong performance there for Simon Edwards. And final person we're going to have a very, very quick chat to is the one and only Phil Glover. Phil started P22nd, up 4 positions in the end on that race. Talk us through how you're finding this new car.
I quite like it, actually. I mean, my results don't tell that, but not done a lot of driving here, but it just feels quite nice. Feels quite smooth. The sound's quite mellow, but it doesn't drive you mad. So I'm quite enjoying it.
Good. I think the fact we're enjoying it obviously is good, and that's the main thing, as long as we enjoy it, isn't it? Moving forward down next week, we are at VIR. Is that a track that you've driven a lot? Are you looking forward to that circuit?
I've not driven it a lot, but I look for it every week. So some tracks are better than others from my perspective. But they're all great, aren't they? Really.
They're all great in their own way, absolutely. No, very, very true indeed. It's going to be an interesting race, almost the polar opposite of what this track is at Laguna Seca. So it'll be interesting to see how the cars behave there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We'll give it a go as usual.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to catching up with you again next week, Phil. But thank you very much for jumping in with us. It's always good to have a catch up. And we'll catch up next week.
Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. Take care. See you next week.
Take care, Phil. So, Ewan, round 2 over. Certainly an interesting lot of battles going on there. Some good, strong performances from a couple of newcomers to this season. And going forward, Virginia International Raceway next week, more of a different circuit, could it?
Well, not really, but it is difficult as well as Laguna Seca. There's not really much room for error. It's not tarmacked over on the outsides of corners, as not many of these American circuits are really. It should be another one to look forward to in just 1 week's time. And we're really seeing much less domination from one driver. Obviously, we like seeing Simon Edwards doing well, of course, and winning, but he was dominating a little bit the last season especially, and a little bit the first season in 2022, so maybe this season is just going to be a little bit closer. It's obviously too early to tell, but a couple of great races to kick off the season. We'll see how next week goes.
Indeed we will, but we do have to wrap up. Thank you as always everyone for watching. Absolute pleasure, and we look forward to catching up with you next week. Some really, really good numbers on the stream, so thank you very much for that indeed. But yes, next week, Virginia International Raceway, very, very interesting circuit for these cars. A track that we've not actually seen these cars around yet, of which we've not seen the entire, this new season is completely into the unknown for us, which is fantastic for us because it means a little bit more action, a little bit more uncertainty, which is what we always like, keeps us on our toes. But thank you everyone for watching as always, and we will see you next week. But until then, as always, take care, stay safe.